Yeah, good evening, everybody. Pleasure to meet you all again on this 19th Sunday, where we have something related to urban foodscapes. And as you will see, the opening screen of today is that of our guide and one who brought about this passion for terrace gardening, not only for us, but to practically every terrace gardener in not only the city, in the country, the whole of India. Dr. B.N. Vishwanath. It's his inspiration that takes us forward. It's his inspiration that has made us do this successfully 18 Sundays. Today we are going on to the 19th Sunday, and our plan is to reach 25 to commemorate the silver jubilee of terrace gardening in Bangalore. We don't just call it terrace gardening, we call it urban foodscapes because Dr. Vishwanath is very particular that limited resources what we have should be used for growing food crops. Eat what you grow and grow what you eat, was what he used to quite often say. And all this has been possible with the untiring efforts of our Secretary of GCF, Dr. Hegde, who has been working constantly to see that no Sunday is missed out. In fact, some Sundays we have even two resource persons who are who speak on various topics related to urban foodscapes. And today we have got a very senior resource person, Dr. Ramakrishna V Hegde. He is an experienced and proficient horticulture scientist at the University of Agricultural Sciences, Dharwad. He is specialized in pomology, that is the division of horticulture, which deals with all aspects of cultivation of fruits. In his 25 plus years of professional career, Dr. Hegde is involved in teaching, research, and extension of horticulture, particularly on fruit crops and plantation crops, spices and aromatic plants, etc. He is part of many crop production technologies developed by the university for the benefit of farmers. He has guided many postgraduate students and has published more than 100 research papers and articles. A warm welcome to you, sir, from all of us here. We are eagerly looking forward to this session. Fruit tree is something which interests all of us. And many of us have fruit trees in our terraces. Now we are eagerly waiting to listen to your expert advice, sir. Over to you, sir, Dr. R.V. Hegde.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon. First of all, I begin with paying tributes to Dr. B.N. Vishwanath, sir, who, as I wrote here, is the teacher of our teachers. So, because she was serving as a professor and head in the Department of Entomology in our college, so hence my tribute to him, my salute to him. In addition to that, he is also an inspiration for me because he had to, once he had happened to come to Dharwad, on which during that visit he was brought by Dr. Hegde to my home. When he saw my home and me putting lot of area under lawn, he said, "You are wasting your land unnecessarily and wasting water." He said, "You should have grown vegetables." And that is what made me to enter into this particular area. So that's why he is my inspiration to home garden also. Now I will also would like to thank one more person here, Dr. Hegde, who was junior to in my college, a roommate for 3 years when I joined the job. Then he is a source for whenever I have doubts, difficulties in roof gardening. And as you know, he is the reason for joining you all today. Okay, now I should also thank my institution. So, University of Agricultural Sciences, Dharwad, as you all probably knowing, or if you don't know, I will tell, it is the 9th best agricultural university in the country. This year's ranking is 9th, and it is the topmost university, agricultural university in the state for consecutively 2nd year. So this is what institute which has helped me to grow and stand before you to talk on this. Then while explaining, he said, your chairman said that I'm an expert in fruit crops. Truly not. And in fact, I'm a little more specialized toward the plantation of spices. But however, I teach fruit crops. So with whatever the knowledge I have and whatever the teaching I made and whatever the observations I made, I try to convey what is the or provide justice to the topic which is given to me. Now, before what the strength of me, why I can talk on this aspect. See, this is what my garden is. I have a small garden, so both on the ground floor or in front of my house, on the side of my house, whatever the space which is being left out, I am utilizing this. The last, the rightmost two photographs are my daughter's kitchen garden. See, he is using her the rooftop or the terrace for her this one. She has started just now during this lockdown, second half of the lockdown period. So these are the plants of hers, and the left side, these are the plants of my wife, in fact. Now, okay, now I should also give credits to whatever I sincerely acknowledge the different sources which I have used for getting the images and the information for this presentation. So with this introduction, I will just move to the topic, fruits for urban foodscapes. So here too, people have talked about vegetables in kitchen gardening, home gardening. No, I have little, because our academicians or our teachers have a little objection for telling terrace gardening, because terrace gardening is one, particularly when we talk about some fruit crops or agriculture. Terrace, when we refer, it is an area of land where different elevations are there. So the term which we use here, terrace, is for the rooftop. So that's why I don't use that terminology here, terrace gardening, but the rooftop gardening or the home gardening, in fact. Now, I think I should not talk much on this. This is known to everybody, but as the beginning of the topic, I'll try to tell. So, this why fruits are important as a source of different essential elements or of our food, vitamins, minerals, the source of sugars or carbohydrates, and they are a good source of antioxidants, which are very important for our imparting body immunity. Natural pigments, many fruits have natural pigments. Then the medicinal value, the like laxative properties. Then many processed products which are important, like jams, jellies, candies. So they are good on a day-to-day basis. They are very important for us. Probably this is one reason why this year has been declared as International Year of Fruits and Vegetables. Now, the next thing is about fruit crops in urban foodscapes. So, we have a limited area in which a perennial crop, or a crop which can survive for several years, whether it is to be included or not, that is a big question in the beginning. So, many people thought about this. But after a period of experience of gardeners, now that question mark is slowly fading out. And now what we have is, it is one of the components of it. Now, there are certain things, points to be remembered by this. Now, while selecting the fruit crops or when we consider fruit crops under foodscapes, one is they are seasonal. Unlike vegetables, where whenever you 3 years, 3 months, 4 months, you can get the crop. The cycle of the crop is short. So, whereas here, one is long duration, and some say mango will come to bearing only in the month of April, May. So like this, most of the fruit crops are seasonal, only they produce crop once in a year. Exceptions are there, papaya throughout the year, strawberry can produce crop. Then the size of the plants, say, when you compare vegetables or even flower crops, the size of the plant stem or the foliage or the aerial system or the root system is very big. You have to bring it to such a small so that they can fit into our containers. Then many require distinct climates. So vegetables, almost all the vegetables can be grown either in Bangalore or in Dharwad. Anywhere you can grow most of the vegetables, except few. But not all the fruit crops. They have very requirement of very distinct climatic conditions. And when you talk about rooftop or urban landscapes, food landscape, you have two types: rooftop and limited available land in front or side of the house or behind the houses. So in which cases the selection of crop will change. So because in when you have a land, you can even grow some crops which require little larger space, or you can allow the plant to grow a little bigger. So these are the things that you have to remember when you begin with the fruit crops as a component of our food urban gardening. Now, when you now think first thing about fruit crops as a part of our or a component of our landscape, foodscape or urban foodscape is that one is selection of the crop. Which crop to select? Now we have a variety of fruit crops available in front of us. Which to select? Now, first thing we have to consider is whether it is suitable climatically or not. The climatical suitability will be the first thing. So let us imagine. Yeah, I'm audible, sir. So Rajendra, am I audible?
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay, no, just confirmation. Okay, right. Thank you. Climatic suitable. So banana. Say banana. When you consider most part of South India, it's an ideal crop. I said crop suitable for this region in terms of climate. Apple, no. As on today, though there are people who are growing apple, but as a good fruit crop for any area, whether it is open cultivation or this region, so it is not a suitable crop. Then that is one thing. Suitability of the crop is first thing, whether because when we grow it, we need to produce some crop. So simply growing a crop is not our motto. So then whether sufficient light, because fruit crops are the ones which require ample sunlight. So whether sufficient light is available, sufficient space is available for that. So say for example, most of the fruit crops, including mango, require good amount of. Avocado can grow even with little shade. Then space. So if you have a limited space, don't go for a crop like jackfruit, mango. So you include fruits which can accommodate strawberry or pineapple can be accommodated there. Then periodicity of fruiting. So if you want to have fruit crop fruits throughout, so you have only few plants can be planted. Which will you select? The one which can produce fruits throughout the year. Papaya would be a better choice than mango. Mango which can produce crop 1 year or sometimes once in 2 years. So then better to go for papaya. So then owner's preference. So whatever is we suggest of all in all these points, first finally what the gardener is interested, that is the will be the priority. Some he says that I want to grow olive because that is what I want. So you can. So that's also another point when you are selecting a crop for your region. So for this purpose, I am grouping the crops into categories. Now, it's not an exhaustive list, but it is a part of majority crops are covered. Now, most of the crops in the tropical belt, when I say tropical belt, it is a place where the fluctuations in temperatures are minimum. So, pineapple, papaya, mango, sapota, all these can be of grown in the most part of South India. Then intermediary regions, that is subtropical region where the temperatures are moderate. So low temperature can go low also and high also. That is most part of India, except the north, extreme north. So here you have a variety of crops which can be grown. So it includes guava, pomegranate, passion fruit, grape, lychee, mulberry, strawberry, fig, custard apple. Citrus fruits includes a variety of mandarins, oranges, limes, lemons. All these can be grown. Then temperate region where the low winter temperatures go very low, and under such circumstances, these are the crops which generally do not come under the other two part of the in India, whether it's tropical or subtropical. These generally do not come. So because they require chilling temperature, which is around 3 to 4 degrees Celsius for a prolonged period. So that's why when you select a crop, this is one thing which you have to know whether that crop is suitable for our region or not. Then I have another classification which I have put here. It is based on the difficulty level. So how easily these can be accommodated. Now I'm categorizing it to one first category where they are comparatively easier to grow. Citrus fruits are the best to grow in even temperate fruits, apple and all. But unfortunately, they cannot grow. But if you, as I am talking to the entire country as a whole, so these are the crops which are suitable. Now, I'm not putting mango, lychee, sapota here. In fact, they are little larger trees, so making them to fit into container a little difficult. They are not impossible, but I'm putting into a second category. So I'm putting the third one, jack, tamarind, and jamun, including banana in this category, late this one, because so their the size of the tree is big. Banana is not big, but when you look at its crown, bottom, the corn which is forming, so sometimes it will be bigger or it may break your container. So that's why, particularly when you grow it for a longer period. Otherwise, the fourth category, I don't recommend coconut or date palm at all. The coconut many times is not a fruit, but I'm putting here as an example that is not an ideal crop for the container gardening at all, or the whatever you are talking about, urban foodscapes. That's not. If you have land sufficient space of at least about 5 to 6 meters, then only go for coconut. Otherwise, for container gardens, coconut is not an ideal crop. Then, okay, now you have selected a crop, whatever the crop you have selected. Now you have to go for which plant you have to select. Now you have two options. One is we multiply ourselves. Most of the cases we can't, so we purchase from nurseries. So one of the primary thing which we have to consider when you are selecting the plant is source. Which source you are selecting? So most reliable source which you have to adopt. So based on your previous experience, based on friends' suggestion, you have to select a good source. Then the other things will come. So size, otherwise I call it as vigor of the plant. Now, many times I tell students also, in our life, we always prefer people in this one, those which are thin. Say, when you select our partner also, or this one, we select people with lean this one, but not in case of plant. In case of plant, you should select the plants which are having thicker girth, at least at the bottom, that is at the collar region. Height, negative. So you have to choose, height should not be considered while selecting the plant at all. So number of leaves, more the number of leaves, it indicates the vigor of the plant. Age, if it is older plant, don't go for older plants. So always it is not going to grow well in your containers. So select an ideally aged plant, not more than 2 years, not more than 2 years. Many times we have believed older the plant, early will be the flowering. Don't go for that. So then method of propagation. Which method of propagation? The plant has been multiplied. So that is also important when you are selecting a container grown plant or for plant for an urban situation. Now, now having requested to give a little detail about method of propagation. That's why I'm taking this as a separate, a part of the lecture will be connected to that. What are the different methods of propagation? Though I'm not going to very detail, but I'm going to use some of the commonly available methods. Now, here I'm classifying how the plants are multiplied into two categories, seed and vegetative. This is a general classification. Generally, fruit crops are not multiplied through seed. Generally, it is by vegetative means. There are examples, but vegetatively, we have cuttings, layers, grafts, and buds. These are the common methods of multiplication of fruit crops. Now, seed as a method of multiplication, we have two plants which are multiplied under category of fruits, papaya and lime. So papaya, we don't have any other method. Lime, we have method, but generally multiplied by seed. It's an easy method and there is no difficulty in that. So because when you multiply lime seeds, you sow seeds, it gives a plant which is similar to the parent plant. But it is preferred, particularly for our situation of urban gardening, it is preferable if you have a budded plant. Then papaya is seed propagated. Now, when you use seed as a material, so always remember to use fresh seeds and don't sow them deep. Now, a general rule is that you sow the seeds 2 times its size to the depth of 2 times its size. That is a general rule. So these points have to be remembered when you seed. Otherwise, I'm not going into detail about how seed. Then vegetative methods. Multiplication of plant through vegetative means here vegetative material is always better than the seedlings for fruit crops or perennial plants. Why? Because when you use vegetative propagated material, they will have less juvenility. That means the time taken to the first flowering. So if you take a seed, mango, it takes 8 years to flower, whereas here it is going to flower even in the nursery or first year itself. Then it will be resembling the mother plant, that is true to time. Then always short stage. Now remember, these are the important things for us. Short stature plants are always better for us because they should not grow bigger. They should fit into our container. Then grafted trees, particularly dwarf varieties, are the best one for urban gardening or this container gardening. Now I'm going to deal with some examples of these methods of propagation, hardwood cutting and few fruit crops. Now this is a commercial method of propagation for grapes, pomegranate, fig and mulberry. These can be multiplied by hardwood cutting. So imagine you have a plant with you, you can multiply them, say grapes or this one. So here some of the basic thing I will tell you. So this length of the cutting always should be around 20 to 25 centimeter, should have minimum 3 to 4 nodes. These are the 2 points which you have to remember when you multiply any, whether ornamental also. This one hardwood means the shoot is mature But so that's why you should not retain any leaves. These are the things you have. Length 20 centimeter, then minimum 3 to 4 buds, and no leaves to be retained. And this is placed in a sand medium or cocoa pit. So this will root. So this is the method of multiplication for these group of crops. Then this is not a common method of multiplication, semi-hardwood or softwood cuttings for fruit crops. Generally, it is not a. So, and as an example, I have given here for citrus and gardenia, but this is not a general. Here, what is it? We are including the leaves. In case of semi-hardwood, 2 leaves, and in case of softwood cutting, citrus, some species can be multiplied. So all the leaves are retained except the basal one. This is softwood cutting. This is a common method for multiplication. Most of your ornamental plants, it could be coleus, it could be stevia, or even medicinal plants like stevia. Any of these plants are multiplied only by softwood cutting. Just remove basal leaves, take a cutting and plant them. Now, remember, this is one more type of cutting which can be used, but not applicable to fruit crops. No fruits, except pineapple, there is an example. So you can use the leaf blade, that is the entire leaf, and cut them into pieces. And the leaf, entire leaf can be placed with cutting the veins. That is the begonia, this is sansevieria. And if you have a peperomia plant, that can be just leaf along with the petiole can be kept in the medium. So that will produce a new plant. The last one is what is bryophyllum, which will produce plants in its every points in the leaf margin. So it's called leaf margin cutting. Just you need to put it on a medium, and that will result in a new plant. Now I will take to other methods of multiplication. So that is the one which are commonly used in fruit crop, layering. No, the cuttings are the method of multiplication. You separate the plant part, whether it is cut stem, root, or leaf, and then make them to grow as a new plant by producing roots and shoots. Whereas layering, so wherever it is not possible to multiply by cuttings, what we do is we make them to root still attached to the plant. That is what layering is. So I am going to give you example of guava here, that is Peru. So how the layering is done. So now what is done is, so you have to select a shoot, say about 30 centimeter from the tip. Use any shoot of it, say about 25 to 30 centimeter from the tip of the shoot. You select an area where you don't have a branch. The internode between two nodes, that is the axils of the two leaves, you select a space and then mark here, as you can see here. So you have to give two. What is, if the branch is vertical, you give two horizontal cuts all around the stem. So having it between with a distance of about 2 to 2.5 centimeter. So give a cut and then give a vertical cut. Then give a vertical cut from here to here. So that way you can open this bar. So you have given 2 cuts on either side and a central cut. This can. If it is not, you can use your knife and scrape the entire bark. There should not be any piece of bark on this. Remember this. So the length of the cut is important, 2.5 centimeter. No bark should be retained. Cleanly it has to be cut. This is called girdling. So this is the first step. So then you prepare a girdle and directly you can go to the next step, or you can also use a growth substance that is called auxins. Auxins, you know, many of you are aware about this. They help in rooting. So this auxins, it's available in commercially as Ceradex, Ceradex, or Rootone. So this can be mixed with water, and using a small brush, you can paste to the upper portion of the girdle. So then tie this with moss. I think many of you are aware, those who are involved in gardening, they know what is moss. The moss plants will be there. If you don't have moss, you can also use sawdust. So from the waste from the sawdust sawmills, so that can also be used. So soak them in water and then place it around this girdle. So place it around this girdle and tie with a polythene. So tightly. This is very important. Tying with a polythene on both sides. On both sides. So allow it for 2.5 months. So the rooting takes place. Now you can see the roots here. So the basal part of the girdle is cut along with that moss. So you can see the extent of rooting, and then don't plant it directly. You have to plant in a polybag or medium and allow it to harden, produce new roots, and then go for the fill. So this is how the plants are multiplied by layering. So if you can't multiply the plants by layering, you can go to the grafting. So there are many fruit crops which are multiplied by this method. You have mango, sapota, even grapes is multiplied now commercially by this method. sitaful or that group of plants. So all of them are multiplied by grafting. So when you say grafting, it is joining of two plant parts. Here either two we had only one plant. Now we are using two plants. So the one which is going to form the root system, another which is going to form the shoot. That is the aerial part. So the aerial part which you are inserting, that is called scion, which will be always from a desirable variety. Now, if you want to multiply Alfonso, you have to take from a grown-up plant. You know that this is producing good quality fruits, or you know that it is already bearing. So from that shoot you have to take. The root stocks could be any seedling of mango or any other crop, or certain cases it could be cutting. Say for example, grapes or rose, we use cuttings. Cuttings are rooted first and that is taken. Now these are two joined. So before further proceeding, you should remember the difference between a hybrid and a graft. Graft is where we are joining two plant parts physically, whereas in hybrid we are mixing the characters genetically. So in both the cases we are using two plants. So this is what a graft is. So together you have a graft, and always this grafted plant will have a place where both have joined. So that is called graft union. Now, when you want to graft, you require certainly one is rootstock, scion, then a knife. I have shown a grafting knife. It need not be. You can use any knife, but it should be sharp enough. Or a grafting tape. It's available in the market, but otherwise you can use any of the polythene covers which you get. So at least thicker one, not the ones which are very thin. So the normal thinner polythene, thicker polythene, this one. So that can be used to tie. Make it with a small strip, and that can be used for tying this. Now I will show you. There are many methods of grafting. I'm not going to detail any of them. Only one method I'm trying to explain now. So that is okay. Before that, what are the benefits of using this? They are short. Now this why I want to tell this. They are going to, you can include many varieties in the same plant, particularly in urban foodscape where you have a limited space. You can have a single plant with different varieties. But remember, they are generally short-lived, and you cannot graft any species on anything. It is, remember, you can graft mango on mango only. Cashew cannot be grafted on mango. So that point has to be remembered, that it has to be within the species. You can use different varieties, but not different species. That is a major limitation of grafting. Now, this is an example of this one, mango with different varieties on different branches. Here you have citrus plant. This is only example where different species can be multiplied. You have in the same plant orange, mandarin, and lime. So all these plants can be grafted on the same plant, on the same rootstock. So mango, on mango seedling, you can have 3 varieties, 4. There are up to 14, 15 varieties being grafted on a field-grown plant. At least 2 to 3 varieties can be grafted in a pot-grown mango plants. Now, coming to the method of grafting, which is more simple, all of us can follow it, wedge grafting. It is called wedge grafting, where you are preparing the scion in the form of a wedge. Wedge means sharpened on 2 sides. Then the rootstock is cut into slit. So take a seedling of about 3 to 8 months, then the scion material which you are inserting from this should be under dormant condition. That means buds should not have sprouted. That part has to be taken. Then this is how the selection of the material, and after that how to prepare it. Now, when you prepare grafting or budding, you should remember that there should not be any leaf on the scion, that is the upper part of the graft. That should not, it should not have any leaves, and the rootstock should have always at least few leaves, so that it should continue its process of production, food production, whereas the scion should not have leaves to avoid loss of water. So these points, so remove all the leaves, then sorry. Then give a cut. Give cuts, sharp cuts. The knife should be very sharp. With a single stroke, you have to give cuts on either side of the shoot which you are taking. And then that is what I am showing here. You have to make like this. But remember that bark on the other side of the scion should be intact. Then on the scion, compare, because remember scion and stalk should be of the same size. Compare it. Then cut the top of the rootstock, the unwanted part, make a slit, cut open, make a slit, then insert that scion into here. So insert it, and then tie with the polythene. It has to be tied with polythene. This is the step which is very important in the success of graft. Now here, because tying, you have to, one thing is you have to align the rootstock and scion properly, then tie it very tight, airtight. So there should not be any air entering into it. These are the two things which you have to remember. As quick as possible, you have to insert it and do it. So for a safer purpose, while watering and also water should not go, so you can put a polythene cover above that. When it sprouts, that is not, the graft is not yet successful, it's only sprouted. You have to wait for sufficient time, at least 2 to 3 months, to remove the polythene. But polythene has to be remembered because polythene will not degrade. So otherwise it will constrict this area. After that, you have to remove the polythene. This is where you can see the graft union has taken place. But whenever you use a graft, remember that you should not allow any shoot to appear below this graft joint, because that is a seedling which is not, you don't know its quality. Above portion only is the desired one. So any shoot which arises below this graft joint, whether you buy it or whether you graft it, you should not allow them to grow. Now here this is our, because I have been teaching this propagation for last 25 years, but in fact I didn't do grafting commercial actually. So here are a few grafts of mine only. So you can see here this graft is perfectly joined, same plant here. But this was one more graft which I have prepared. The plant is surviving, but it is not a successful graft. You can see already it is breaking. So anytime it may die. So that is very important. The graft joint has to be perfect. Whether you buy it or you prepare it, this has to be remembered. Okay, now then another method, I call it as a bud grafting, though otherwise generally call it as budding. So where instead of scion whole shoot, we are taking only one bud from it. So here again there are many methods. You have patch budding, you have slit budding, but I am taking very simple budding, that is T or inverted T. What the example here given is a T budding, because the shape of the cut given, the vertical, horizontal cut and a vertical cut, that is the English capital T. So that's a, yeah, any problem, sir? Rajendra, am I audible?
Yes, yes. Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead, please.
Okay. Now, so the shape of the T, that's why we say T budding or shield budding. So that this is the more simple one, anybody can follow it. It is a commercial method of budding, for method of propagation for all citrus fruits, orange, mandarin, then lemon, then amla, then burr. This is the commercial method there. So you can see here about. So you give a vertical cut. Now the one which is shown here is inverted T, because it avoids entry of water. So give a vertical cut, then just at the center of it across you give a horizontal cut. Now you have a inverted T, so just open it. So you can see here, this is where the basal horizontal cut, this is open. Now you can insert something into it. So for this you have to prepare a bud in the shape of a shield. So start from the top of the bud, leave about 1 centimeter above the 1.5 centimeter, start the cut from there, and then reach below the cut, bud, say about 0.5 centimeter, and then give a horizontal cut. So that will remove a bud in this fashion. So this bud, don't touch the bark portion. Here you are not including the wood at all. It's only the bud along with the bark. So that is taken and insert it from the lower side. That pointed portion of the bud has to be inserted above till the horizontal cut joins with the that of the rootstock. Right? You insert it, and then when it reaches that cut, horizontal cut, stop there. Then now this is the other side of it, and tie with polythene. So keeping the only the bud portion open, all other part has to be tied with polythene. Polythene strip, a thin polythene strip can be taken. It's not a polythene bag, it is a strip of it, maybe about 1 centimeter in thickness, and that is tied continuously, rolled, and it is tied. So this is how a budding is done. Now, when the bud is, after 1 month or 2 months, you can see if the bud has failed, you will see that there is a healing, but the bud has dried. If it is successful, you can see the green color of it, but it may not sprout. To make it to sprout, either you have to cut at the top or bend it. Just bend it so that it is invigorated and the buds will sprout, and then you can cut just above this. So same way like grafting, don't allow any shoots below that. And whenever you, in any part of the fruit, whenever you give a cut, so protect it from, now if you are growing with chemicals, so use copper-based fungicide, otherwise even a coal tar. So make a coal tar or a black paint and cover the cut ends with that. So that will protect from any rotting or entry of insects. This is how budding is done. Now, this is the part which I was talking about propagation. So that means vegetatively propagated plants, grafted plants are better suitable for containers than the seedlings. Now, selection of containers. This has been explained to you in one of the lectures, week number 11. So, but however, what is important when you are selecting a container or fruit crop is that it should be large enough, should have proper drainage. This is common for all, should be durable because here the plant is going to survive for a long period. So a durable container has to be used. To the normal bag which we use like fertilizer bags, that they may not be ideal for it. Then the weight should be light enough because you are using the terraces for it light. And if you want to lift, because normally it is difficult to lift them, it should be light in weight. You can use either fresh new ones, recycled ones, both of them. So you have many options for this. Clay pots, as I said, are heavy and stable. Cement pots are heavy and they are strong, but plastic is more durable, light. Then most of the fruit crops, the ideal size is at least 45 to 50 centimeter in diameter and of same depth. That is the minimum size of the container which you have to follow. Don't use smaller containers. Otherwise, the lifespan of your fruit or the productive period of your fruit crop will be reduced. Now, the types of containers available, the pots, grow bags, earthen containers, plastic containers, reused drums, either plastic, steel drums, anything can be used of normally bigger size. Now, these are an example of citrus fruit grown on different containers. The plastic container having clay, this one, or the wood, the earthen containers, ceramic. So, all possible containers can be used. Now, okay, now containers, crop has been selected, the varieties have been selected, the planting material, now selection of media, what media it is. Again, you have already been given one of the reason that what should be the composition of a media. So, it is common for all the crops for container growing. So you should use a container having, because fruit crops are heavier in nature, you may not be able to use directly coco peat here because coco peat does not give you firmness. So, or a vermiculite directly you cannot. You have to invariably use it with soil. So what it should have sufficient water holding capacity, then it should be fertile. So normally the ideal mixture which is used for all crops can be employed here. Soil with 2 parts, compost or fine with 1 part, sand with 1 part. This can be further added with coco peat, can be added 1 more part, which will increase the porosity of this medium, water holding capacity. So that is a mold, leaf mold can be added. Then where the crops, these plants have to be located, otherwise the importance of light here. So most of the fruit crops, I said, they require more light. So naturally you have to grow them or keep them in places where the sufficient light is available. Shade affects flowering and fruiting, because if you grow under the sun, plant may grow, but it may not result in flowering. If at all you have any plant which is having foliage but not flowering, one point you have to check is whether it has got sufficient light or not, and avoid overcrowding. So because pots can accommodate, but the fruits need space, or the trees need space, plants need space. So simply keeping the pots together may not help. Sufficient space has to be provided. Avoid overcrowding. And if there is a possibility of, because fruit crops will be taller in nature, so keep it secure. That means provide support to them. Now I am going to give a list of, this is all connected from the resources available on the internet. Some of the crops which are the tropical crops, tropical fruits. You have papaya, banana. Banana is not my very good choice for a container grown, because once it grows, it becomes, the corn will be big, and unlike other fruits, you cannot reduce them also. You have to replant them only. So pineapple can be grown very well, sapota. So a second choice, in fact. These are the crops which are very ideally fitted: guava, pomegranate, or fig, and mango. So these can be grown very well in the moderate size containers. Say all citrus fruits, mandarins, oranges, that is sweet orange or Mossambi, limes, lemons, they grow very well under containers. So they are, in fact, they are ideal even for bonsai. Then these are some other crops which can also fit into the container. This one, that is strawberry, annonaceous fruits, including sitapal, the more recent fruit that is apple bur, or avocado. Avocado, many people have grown in containers, so that with little shade also it can grow. Then some fruits which are rare and so lychee or water apple, jackfruit. Jackfruit is not my selection for this group because the fruits are heavy. The plant itself requires sufficient growth to fruit them, produce a fruit. But mulberry can be a very good crop. Mulberry can be a very good crop for container growing. Then temperate fruits, those areas where temperate fruits can be grown. So all temperate fruits, because they are amenable for pruning, so they can be, their size can be reduced. Apple, pear, peach, or plum, or the berries, whether it is raspberry or blueberries, they can be grown in containers. So they are the crops which are suitable for them. Then even climbers, there are few climbers among the fruits, they can also be grown. So this crop, that is passion fruit, can be grown in any part of South India. Then this kiwi fruits in the many parts of North India is an ideal fruit crop. Then grapes, a caution. Grape can be grown in containers, but it is very sensitive to high humidity. So Bangalore or Dharwad more climatic conditions, so what it has, we have seen in the last few weeks, it's enough to cause the diseases. That's why it is not an ideal crop, provided under, say, the center part of India could be an ideal crop where the conditions are dry, so you can go. But in situations like Bangalore, you can go for those varieties which are generally colored or wine varieties like Gulabi or Bangalore blue. They can be grown in the containers. So these are the options for us to grow the crop. Now, so when we say containers, you need to check the growth of it. That is what canopy management, or reducing the size of the canopy. So there are many options for this. One is start with the rootstock. That is, if you, since majority are grafted, start with the rootstock which is dwarf in nature. Short rootstock. In case of apple, you have Malling 9, M26. In citrus fruits, we have a rootstock called trifoliate orange. That's a good rootstock. Then mango, we have rootstocks which are that is Velai Columbus. That's the rootstock. But a plant availability of plant could be difficulty in case of mango. But in other crops, it's available. Then use dwarf variety. There are some crops where we have varieties which are dwarf. So one example for mango is Amrapali, a very popular variety in many parts of India. Then don't feed excessively. When you feed excessively, plant try to grow more vigorously. So compared to a field grown crop, provide less nutrients according to the medium. Then train them and prune them. So that means you have to, like our children, you have to properly train them to grow in that container and remove the excessive growth so that their growth will be checked. And taking an early crop. Now, normally when we grow fruit crops outside, what we do is we allow them not to produce fruits up to 5 years. But here there is a change. So you may have to take early crop so that it doesn't produce more vegetative growth. So you can start taking a crop early, 1 or 2 years itself you can take the crop, so that vegetative growth is reduced and the plant becomes smaller in nature. This is how you can manage the canopy. Now I'm taking it like one by one, training. So training, normally it is development of the framework. Whether you want to make the plant smaller or not, this is important. You have to train it. So that means how the branches are formed. Simply allowing a shoot straight and mango, for example, allowing them the plant to become dwarf is not possible. So before it grows, you have to make it to produce 2 or 3 branches in directions, in different directions. And these branches should not be in the same point. If they produce same point, so because of the weight of the fruits, they may split. So remember that. So they have to be spaced, these branches, and allow 2 or 3 branches only. That is what development of framework. In case of wine crops, you may have to allow them to grow along a trellis or a support or along the wall. So that is possible. So that's what training is important for fruit crops. You may not require this for other group of crops. For fruit crops, the initial how the plant has to grow, you have to manipulate it. See, for example, apples. So these are possible methods. Cordon system, what it's called. So allow the branches to grow along the sides, give it support, and thereby it is sufficiently exposed to light. Then grapes, you give a support made of a wood or metal so that it grows along that. Whereas for other fruit crops, other than these fruit crops, this is what you have to do. Don't allow the branches to form from the base. At least about 30, normally 1 meter we say, here 30 centimeter or 40 centimeter, don't allow the branches, then allow only the natural 2 or 3 branches to grow, so which will form the framework. This is the initial thing which you have to do in the after planting of a crop. Then many crops, as I said, the top should not be way heavier than this. So in such cases, it may topple down. So pot may fall down. So to avoid that, you need to support them, support the plant. So supporting could be using a stake like this, or providing a trellis. This is in case of dragon fruit or grapes, providing a support, ladder-like support. That now, when any plant, when you are providing a support, remember that it is not simply tying the plant to the support. It is, you have to carefully see that it is, you should not strangle the plant. You should not strangle. So it should be not allowed to fall down. That is important. So that how the tying is done. So to the stake is also important. Then pruning. So always this is a thing which you have to do it. Necessary evil, we say normally, necessary evil. So when you cut the plant, you have grown it and you are cutting it, always it pinches us, but you have to do it, because one is, our primary aim is to restrict the growth in a container. So that's why if you, whatever the canopy has, that much only root system will be there. So if you allow it to grow bigger, that will be the amount of root system. So you will not be able to manage the tree afterwards. So restriction of the growth. And in addition to that, it also helps in producing new growth, induces flowering in most of grapes, for example. If you don't prune it, it will never flower. So to make it to flower, you have to allow them to, you have to prune it. Or sometimes when the plant becomes old, you have to severely prune it so that you get entirely new vigor growth. But the tips for here is always prune them before sprout. Before the sprout, you prune them. And be judicious, because the part which you are removing could be a potential productive part. Be judicious and merciless. These are the things, points to remember while growing. So this part, watering, now you have been already told about the water management for container grown plants or the terrace gardening or rooftop gardening. So this in lecture number 10. So what only thing is that don't overwater. Don't overwater. So excessive watering could lead to fruit cracking. You may have fruits, but they may crack. Then less water, more frequently. More frequent watering, lesser water, always is good for containers. Then, when I say watering, so always there are certain periods in plants which require stress. Before fruiting, before flowering, plant always requires stress. At that time, if you provide excessive water, it may result in vegetative growth. So always before expected flowering, you know that. So before that, you can reduce the water application. Then poor water, insufficient water may result in flower, fruit drop. They are all reasons for insufficient. Then nutrition, again, this has been told to you in lecture number 9, but only few points to be remembered is that unlike vegetables, unlike flowering plants, short duration crops, fruit crops don't express their symptom. It is like our elders. They suffer internally, but never express their problems. Same way the fruit plant do not express. But when the damage is caused, sometimes it will be fatal. Liquid, you can have options of foliar feeding, liquid manures, because containers are small, excessive fertilization could be harmful. Then, in generally, tree crops have a natural association with microorganisms. So there is a group of microorganisms called mycorrhiza. So inoculation of these spores with the roots always is beneficial. They help in expanding the root system. They help in better uptake of the nutrients. Even they offer resist or tolerance to diseases. So that is one option. If you have access to mycorrhizal inoculum, so that is better when you are before planting, you can inoculate them. Then nutrient application has to be done when the plants are hungry. That means particularly before the new flush is about to be produced and during the fruit growth period. They are the critical periods for application of nutrients. Then fruitfulness and pollination. So this is a thing which is, fruitfulness is a problem everywhere, whether it is field grown plots, but here pollination also could be a problem in container grown or kitchen garden or home gardens. So many fruit plants, they may require larger growth only to produce their fruits. Sometimes you may find they do not produce the crop at all. Say jack or coconut, in container grown situation, they may not produce the yield at all because they require certain period of growth. Then many fruit crops require pollinizers, plant varieties. You require there are varieties because on their own they are self-incompatible. They cannot their flowers cannot set unless pollen of some other variety falls down. So pollinizers are required. See, one example is apple. Apple single variety cannot be grown. You have to grow any additional variety with that. Even mango or sapota, if you grow two variety, that's why when you are growing these crops in your terraces, so you don't plant single plant, always plant two varieties, or as we have seen, you can pollinate or you can graft two varieties on the same plant to possibly graft them, so that when the flowers of two varieties are available, they can pollinate. Then certain fruits may require artificial pollination. Say, for example, anona, many species, and particularly there is a variety called sahana, which has been released from Hezargut, IIHR, so which requires artificial pollination. Passion fruit, dragon fruit, they may require pollination when you grow here. So you may have to manually collect the pollens, then dust it on the female flower parts. So you should know how the female parts look like when the male parts open. That knowledge is required. Or use of honey. This again, in I think probably it is lecture number 17 where honey importance of honeybee has been told. So that, but I'm referring to I prefer this particular one, bumblebees or stringless bees. So which do not harm us also, and they could be a very good. They can enter into small flowers and pollinate them, pollinate the flowers. Now, this is examples of pollination in case of sitapal, anona, then in case of dragon fruit or in passion fruit. So, pollination can be, may be required in these fruit crops. Now, I was saying about, so I talked about apple. So, here you can have a list of apple varieties. So, you with whom they can get pollen. Most of them, say for example, red delicious or gold, very commonly available variety. They can pollinate all with all other varieties except it. So that means you require another variety of it. So this is what I'm taking, stringless bees, which can be even put in a small mud pot or a bamboo stem piece. So this can help in pollination. Now, most of you might have seen this particular situation. So in your container, you may find roots like this. Papaya, if you are growing papaya, this is a very common feature. It's called girdling, stem girdling. If you allow this, these roots will circle around the plant and they will strangle your plant. So sometimes when you remove this one, you may find this type of roots. That is the coiling of the roots. Roots have gone up to the bottom and then started coiling. So, and this is one root mat. When you uproot it, you will find a large mass of roots. So the external symptoms are you will find yellowing of the leaves, leaf drop, they do not produce flowers, they do not fruit. These are the actual fact what is happening. This means they have stopped uptaking of the nutrients. So this has to be corrected. This has to be, before actually it happens, you have to take care. For this, what you need to do is reporting. So what I suggest, or already our gardeners suggest, is that in case many ornamentals even report once in a year, but here at least fruit crops, even though they are larger in size, once in 2 years you have to report them. Report them. So when you report it, retain about 30% of the original mass of roots and the soil, and remaining 70% of this one has to be replaced with fresh medium. When you do go for reporting, remove the entire plant from the pot. So for this, 2 days prior to that, you have to water them, light water them. So if you just press it, hold it against the surface, it will come out. Carefully remove it. Now you will see this much of roots, and what you need to do is remove the larger roots, leaving almost only 30% of the roots you are retaining, and the remaining roots you have to cut them, prune them, and then place them in the original pot. After filling almost say 50% of this one container with fresh medium, place the plant. Now this is an opportunity when if the plant has overgrown, then you can remove the larger part of the stem, cut them using a sharp tool, then fill back the medium again. So the remaining part of this one, okay. When you fill the container, this I think I should not tell to people who are expert in gardening. So the top at least 2 to 3 centimeter has to be kept without filling. So that head space has to be always kept free. Now, this is one more option which is available. Root pruning is one which, this repotting is one thing. There is one more thing which is happening now, or the recent development is air root pruning. That means use of, this is a mechanism wherein the roots, when they grow and if they have containers of holes, the roots reach that holes, and when they are exposed to dry air, they dry. The root tips dry. So it is happening natural root pruning, what we call. So this is being practiced in many forest plants. So we can also employ this one in our cultivation of fruit crops in urban terrace gardening. So this whatever the problem we encounter due to frequent Rajendra, I am going to close within another few minutes. Huh?
No problem, no problem, no issues.
Another few minutes. The root pruning can reduce the extent of this repotting. So that is the objective of it. Now this is probably you might have seen in the market now, these type of containers, large containers with openings. So here the roots come up to this and then dry. So the formation of that large size roots, coiling of roots, these can be avoided by using these type of containers. Okay, now about insect pests. Now we had three lectures, 13, 14, and 15, where including Dr. Rajendra Hegde had talked about this. Dr. Gurudat Hegde has talked about this, different insect pests in urban gardening. So it is same as other crops. So how to control them organically or use of chemicals. This has been told to you, but remember them, they are the major ones. So your production will be dependent on mainly on this. The nutrition, everything is all right, but after that, if your crop is there and if they are damaged by this, so all your efforts are wasted. No, I'm not going to deal them at all in this aspect. So you remember that, how to control them. So now my useful text to the fruit, the growers in the urban foodscape. Be patient. Don't expect trees to yield overnight. So today you plant them, tomorrow don't expect them. Your child never ran a 100 meters race on a first birthday. So that means you have to wait. You have to wait. Don't expect your tree to bear like one in the field. As the fruit trees grown in the containers are growing under suboptimal conditions. You are not providing the optimal conditions. Don't expect the trees to bear 100 fruits per plant. So you have to, in fact, I say that you have to restrict the number of fruits. So if at all you want to make the plant to survive for a longer period, restrict the number of plants. Looking at the foliage, how much foliage is there, accordingly you restrict the fruits. Trees with more leaves don't mean more fruits. Balance between vegetative growth and reproductivity is very important. So the plant may have more leaves. That means the food, whatever you have provided, has been diverted towards vegetative growth. So it has not been transformed. So pruning plays an important role, nutrition plays an important role. And don't compare your fruit trees with those of your neighbors. Always, this is our habit, even with our children also, we compare with others. So don't compare. Your plants are your children. So always, there are many factors which govern the growth and yield of the plants. It could be light, it could be container size, the varieties, many things are there. So that's why your plants are your own. So I'm closing down. Thank you for listening. Thank you for giving me an opportunity for talking to you, friends. No, in fact, I was a listener to many of your talks. In fact, I have, after the time also, I have listened to many of the lectures which have been given through this platform. So, okay, thank you once again.
Thank you, Dr. R.V. Hegde. Sorry, in a very short notice that you could prepare such a vast topic, and we were knowing that it is not simple to fit the topics like fruit crops in 1 hour time or 50 minutes time. But I think, see, the information that what you have given to us today is really vast, and probably many for me, at least at individual level. See, some of these points that we always say, be judicious but merciless, or keep your expectations low. Every terrace is different. So many of these things that we urbanites will be discussing all the time. Thank you once again. But some of these points, some of these questions, I think our senior OTGNs, Ramakrishna Narayanan is also there on the group. but he asked one or two questions probably. What is the life of a grafted plant or a variety or something like that? So
no, under normal circumstances, a grafted plant will not last more than 30 or 40 years under field conditions. So, whereas in a container, normally its lifespan could be much lesser than this. It could not be more than 15 years. If with all whatever the repotting we do also, so what I expect is it may not be more than 15 years. You may have to take a new plant.
The another question is about the potting mix. So you said that you should use quantity of soil, but should we use more soil and less coco peat, or some proportion?
Yeah, it's always because fruit crops, the root system is such a this one that if you use a less compact medium, it could overturn. So the plants may fall down. So that's why I said coco peat cannot be more than 1 part of it. 2 part has to be soil. The purely coco peat, if you are using, sometimes it may not be stable. The plant may not be stable. You may have to give a lot of support to it.
True. That is true with our other plants as well. So we always say that don't use coco peat too much, and part of soil is always there. Another question from the from Sir Ramki sir is there any way to sweeten the fruits?
Yes, sir. So keep your plants always under the sun. So the more the plant exposed to sun, sweeter will be the fruit. If the plants are exposed to shaded conditions, they tend to become less sweeter because it is natural photosynthesis. The quantum of photosynthesis will decide the sweetening of the fruits. Normally, one thing is that avoid excessive watering during the maturity of the fruit. As the fruits near maturity, so reduce the quantum of water so that the fruits will be little more sweeter than the normal.
Okay, there are 1 or 2 questions on YouTube. I think you mentioned about mycorrhiza. See, how do we know that what is this mycorrhizal feed, or maybe where this available?
No, it's now most of the universities, most of the institutes are multiplying mycorrhiza. Mycorrhiza has become a common microbial agent now. So for many crops, it is available now. So whether it is Dharwad University or US Bangalore, IIHR, all of them are multiplying mycorrhiza now. It is available in 100 grams to or 1 kg packets. It is available.
But as of now, I think are there any private suppliers?
It's available, but the problem is lifespan of this is very short compared to other microbial agents. So and it is difficult in producing it also. It requires a live substrate. That is the difficulty.
Yes. So another, how do we know that plant given by what we get in a nursery is actually a dwarf variety?
No, a variety, dwarf variety means you have to know by the name. It's the name of the variety, because we have a database where the dwarf varieties are. Dwarf varieties database is, say for example, when you grow papaya, there is a variety called papaya Pusa Nanna. That means it's an extreme dwarf variety. And some of these varieties like Taiwan Red Lady, it is generally considered as a dwarf variety. So by name of the variety only you should remember it. So by knowing the plant at that stage, it is difficult to understand, determine whether it's a dwarf or not.
Yeah, I think see, other way of looking at it is probably if it grows tall. Somehow that I got a plant from a nursery, it is growing tall. Can we keep training or pruning to keep it tall?
It is possible. Training is possible, but that is not applicable to crops like papaya and banana.
True.
So say for example, banana, if you want to grow, it is better to grow a basrai or pachibale, which is shorter in nature. Don't grow karibade.
Yes. But at least gawa. Just imagine a crops like gawa. Can we keep pruning and keep it dwarf?
Yes. It's a gawa. Those gawa, pomegranate, these are not like you can check the growth of the plant.
So another question on YouTube by Mahesh sir. So I have a custard apple plant which flowers but has never borne a fruit. Does the container size matters or the hand pollination?
No, it is the flower. If it is there, it is flowering means it is the pollination. It is a pollination. So under normal circumstances, it may pollinate under field conditions, but here due to lack of the pollinating insects, the pollination is not happening. So you may have to collect the pollens from few flowers, and for that you keep it in a small container, go take a brush and dust it on the position. Only thing is that you should know which part is female part, that is important. So you have to, by trial and this one, you have to find it out.
Yes, another the physiology question. See, why does the flower fall off? Probably Jagannath sir also is Priya Nagarajan. Why does the flower fall off? Is pollination is the only reason?
No. There are several reasons. One of the, in fact, in this terrace gardening, one of the important reasons could be pollination, but lack of water, moisture stress is one major reason, or even nutrition, if it is not sufficient, also it results in this. These are the other two main reasons. Say, for example, I got a brinjal plant wherein the flowers are not at all setting, but it is due to an insect. There is an insect which is attacking that stage the flower. That's why they are falling. It could be disease and pest also.
Yeah, I think same question repeated regarding the pollination and flower drop. They got the answer. Ritu ma'am, so you are our fruit queen. So I think if you have any doubts, probably please ask. So when I saw the containers, I was remembering that your the containers that you are planning with that the aerated sheet.
Yes,
So
sir.
I think that probably some of these doubts, if you have any doubts, that
I
probably.
have only one question, sir.
Yes,
The
madam.
circumference of the container and the size of the plant should be proportionate. The circumference of the container, that is the size of the plant, should it be proportionate for good growth?
You are referring to height.
Yes. The growth, the spread of the plant, the spread.
Of the, no, yes, it has to be. It has to be. Size of the plant and container has to be proportional. Otherwise, what will happen is, I have a slide when papaya has been grown. You may have to support with
yes, with the side trimming. Yes,
it's
sir.
Very
yes.
important, madam.
Thank you, sir.
And that's what he also mentioned, madam, earlier, especially the canopy.
Yes.
More the canopy, the root growth also will be there. So you have to
sir.
keep pruning and trimming so that.
Trimming it. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Trimming.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Anybody else in the team have questions?
Can I ask one more question?
Yes, sir.
Professor, we often see videos. There's this apple, they are putting some wax and they are injecting some sugar into some fruits. Like lots of WhatsApp videos are all coming. Is it these things are possible in real life with so much of volume in the market?
No. That is not this one. The injecting, maybe a video that may be produced, but in reality, it is not the case. So in fact,
Not possible. Yes.
They may use chemicals or the substances before the maturity of the fruit for color development, for sweetening. There are many substances which are available to improve the quality of fruit. Say, for example, in simple potassium nitrate, if you spray during the maturity of pomegranate, it will develop a very good color. So that way, people may face certain chemicals, but injecting sugar and all, it will, because these are not. If you make an injury into the fruit, it's going to spoil. So the nutrients are taken up from its vascular system, not through the injection or externally. You cannot put the nutrients into it. Sugar into
it. Right.
Okay, Dr. Rajesh, you are there?
Very good. Thank you very much.
So I think before you conclude, there are two questions, Dr. R V Hegde on YouTube. I have a 5-year-old pomegranate plant. It flowers from time to time, but does not graduate into fruits, does not develop into fruits. Wondering whether it is a male plant.
No. That you have to first check it, what type of flower it is. It is very easy to identify the flower in pomegranate. No, pomegranate, if it is a female flower, there is a bulging at the base. If it's a male flower, it is cylindrical in nature. So this first you check it, if whether the plant has female flowers or not. That is hermaphrodite flowers or not. If it is, then you may have to go for artificial pollination. If it is not, all the flowers are made, then you consider it as an ornamental. So you can only use it as an ornamental plant.
Yeah, that's
Varieties
a
of
very good option. Yeah, see, having, of course, I think even pomegranate leaves and other things can be used for as vegetables as well, no? The tips and other things, especially as medicinal plants. Whatever may be the case, I think Subhadra madam, you got the answer. And another question is, my papaya plant has been damaged by monkey. Now it has started growing. Can we expect some fruits? I think
the problem in papaya is that if the terminal bud is damaged, the tip of the bud is damaged, it's very difficult to get a plant of the same vigor. If it is young seedling, sometimes the new shoot which comes out will be vigorous. If it is already a grown up plant, so if the terminal bud is damaged, if it branches more, means you will get only very small fruits. That is, monkeys are fond of papaya leaves, not random fruits. Probably they know its medicinal property better than us.
yeah. Thank you so much. Over to Dr. Rajesh.
Thank you so much, R.V. Hegde, sir. It was really very, very enriching. I personally also have a lot of fruit crops in my garden, terrace garden, as well as in the farm. So it was really useful. And the PPT that you presented with making reference to the earlier lectures, that was marvelous. You like for example, to speak about pests and all that, you should please refer to lecture number 15, 16. So it's a sort of a summing up of the entire things. It was really very, very enriching. Now you have put me in a state of worry because next Sunday is my turn to present, and viewers will expect your standard of presentation. I don't know whether I'll be able to present that standard. So thank you so much, sir, for this wonderful presentation. Thank you all the members in Zoom who make this possible every week, and most of you are there every Sunday. Thank you all for your active participation. And viewers on YouTube, we had a large number of viewers viewing on YouTube, and it was quite interactive, with many of them asking questions. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll have six more Sundays till we reach 25. We'll be going on with this. In case YouTube viewers, in case you have not subscribed to our Organic Terrace Gardening channel, kindly do so that you get updates. Thank you so much and have a wonderful week ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Please discontinue YouTube, Dr. Rajesh.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Madam.
Stream ended, sir. Stream ended.
Okay.